Welcome back. Let's hit the ground in Thiruvananthapuram, where the sitting MP of the Congress, Shashi Tharoor, is speaking out. Let's listen in.
പക്ഷേ ഞങ്ങൾ രണ്ടാളുടെയും പൂർണ്ണ വിശ്വാസമാണ് വോട്ടും ടാക്സും ഒരു പൗരൻ്റെ കടമയാണ്. അതിനെ നമ്മൾ എപ്പോഴും നമ്മളുടെ ഒരു ഡ്യൂട്ടി ആയിട്ട് കണ്ടിട്ട് ചെയ്യണം. അത് ജനാധിപത്യത്തിൻ്റെയും നമ്മുടെ രാജ്യത്തിൻ്റെ ഒരു അത്യാവശ്യമായ കാര്യമാണ്. അത് രണ്ടിലും ഞാനും എൻ്റെ അമ്മയും ഒരു വീഴ്ചയില്ലാണ്ട് എപ്പോഴും ചെയ്ത കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്. ഞാൻ നിങ്ങളുടെ മുമ്പിൽ നിൽക്കുമ്പോൾ എനിക്കറിയാം നിങ്ങളുടെ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടും ഈ സ്ട്രെസ്സും ഈ തിക്ക് തിരക്കിലും ഒക്കെ കാരണം ആകെ ഒറ്റ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട സ്ഥാനാർത്ഥിയെ തിരുവനന്തപുരത്തിൽ വോട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. മറ്റേവരൊക്കെ ഈ സ്ഥലത്തിന് അവകാശപ്പെട്ടവർ വേറെ സ്ഥലത്ത് പോയിട്ടാണ് വോട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് എനിക്കൊരു അഭിപ്രായമില്ല, അവർക്ക് പൂർണ്ണ അവകാശമുണ്ട്. പക്ഷേ എൻ്റെ കമ്മിറ്റ്മെൻറ്റ് തിരുവനന്തപുരത്തേക്ക് തന്നെയാണ് എന്നാണ് ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും ചൂണ്ടിക്കാണിക്കുന്നത്. നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയാം, ഞാൻ ആദ്യം വരുമ്പോൾ തിരുവനന്തപുരം എൻ്റെ കർമ്മഭൂമിയായിട്ട് കണ്ടതാണ്. ഇപ്പം എൻ്റെ നാടായി. എൻ്റെ താമസം ഇവിടെ തന്നെയാണ്. എനിക്ക് വേറെ എവിടെയും പോയി താമസിക്കാൻ ഉദ്ദേശമില്ല, പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി ഇല്ല. എൻ്റെ അവസാനത്തെ അഡ്രസ്സ് തിരുവനന്തപുരം തന്നെ ആയിരിക്കും. ആ കമ്മിറ്റ്മെൻറ്റും ആ ആത്മാർത്ഥതയോടെയാണ് ഞാൻ നിങ്ങളുടെ ഒപ്പം നിങ്ങളുടെ മുമ്പിൽ നിൽക്കുന്നത്. ഇനി രണ്ട് കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്ന് പറയട്ടെ. നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയണം, ഞാൻ എല്ലാ ജംഗ്ഷനിലും ഞങ്ങളുടെ പര്യടനത്തിന് പോകും പറയുന്നൊരു കാര്യം എന്താണ്, ഈ തെരഞ്ഞെടുപ്പ് ഒരു വ്യക്തിക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടല്ല. ഞാൻ മത്സരിക്കുന്നത് നമ്മളുടെ രാജ്യത്തിൻ്റെ ഭാവിക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ്. BJPയുടെ ദുർഭരണം ഡൽഹിയിൽ നിന്ന് മാറ്റാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ്. അതാണ് ഈ തെരഞ്ഞെടുപ്പിൻ്റെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ആവശ്യം. നമ്മളെല്ലാവരും കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട് ഈ 10 വർഷക്കാലം BJP ഭരണം, BJP സർക്കാർ.
Okay. All right. There you have it. That is Shashi Tharoor speaking out. As we promised we'll be listening to all voices and especially since Kerala is voting today, a chance for voters in Kerala to listen to their candidates in their vernacular language. My colleague meanwhile is standing by, Vikas in Nanded. He's got Ashok Chavan with him. Let's listen in.
अशोक चौहान जो है नांदेड़ से लड़ रहे हैं, उन्होंने अभी वोट कास्ट किया है और समझाने की कोशिश की है कि किन मुद्दों के आधार पर
Okay, my correction, he had Ashok Chavan with him. Of course, you were seeing him live. We'll play out that quick interaction very shortly for you. Let me open up this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, because we're getting perspective from as many locations as we possibly can. Let's now take this opportunity and move across from Bengaluru and Kerala, where we started the day. Vikas is, of course, there in Nanded. Chetan is joining us from Khajuraho in Madhya Pradesh. Very interesting battle going on there. Renik is, as we mentioned, Balurghat, as drama is going on there. And Prashant is in Jallore. Let me go across first to Khajuraho and get in a word from Chetan. Chetan, what are people discussing on the ground? What's the big issue on their minds as they go cast their vote?
खजुराहो लोकसभा सीट देखिए बुंदेलखंड की सबसे महत्वपूर्ण सीट है और महत्वपूर्ण इसलिए हो जाती है क्योंकि यहाँ से चुनाव बीजेपी के अध्यक्ष BD शर्मा लड़ रहे हैं और एकमात्र सीट मध्य प्रदेश में खजुराहो ऐसी है जहां पर गठबंधन ने अपने प्रत्याशियों को चुनावी मैदान में उतारा था। हालांकि उनका फॉर्म निरस्त हो गया। BD शर्मा के सामने कोई इतना बड़ा कैंडिडेट है नहीं, लेकिन राजा प्रजापति पूर्व अधिकारी रहे, IAS अधिकारी रहे, उनको गठबंधन ने समर्थन उनसे लिया है, तो कहा जा सकता है कि मुकाबला रोचक भी हो सकता है। लेकिन BD शर्मा साफ दावा कर रहे हैं कि खजुराहो सीट पहले 4 लाख से जीते थे, लेकिन इस बार 7 से 8 लाख वोटों से जीतेंगे। 20 लाख की इस लोकसभा सीट पर वोटिंग है, लेकिन सुबह 7 बजे से जब मतदान की शुरुआत हुई थी तो हमने देखा कि 9 बजे तक लोग भारी तादाद में आ रहे थे, क्योंकि खजुराहो में मध्य प्रदेश में सबसे अधिक गर्मी भी पड़ती है। अभी लगभग 10 बजे का समय है और 10 बजे का जब टेम्परेचर देखा जाए तो 37 डिग्री सेल्सियस पहुंच गया है और ये टेम्परेचर 2 बजे तक 45 डिग्री सेल्सियस तक पहुंचने की संभावना जताई है। ऐसे में निर्वाचन आयोग ने आदर्श इस मतदान केंद्र यहाँ पर बनाए हैं, जहां पर पूरा कैंपस बनाया गया है। इस कैंपस में मैं मौजूद हूं। इसमें 4 पोलिंग बूथ हैं, यानी कि लगभग 6000 मतदाता यहां पर वोटिंग करने के लिए आएंगे। पानी की विशेष व्यवस्था की गई है, कूलर लगाए गए हैं ताकि मतदाता ज्यादा से ज्यादा आ सके।
ओके, बट इट वुड बी ऑफ कोर्स यूजफुल चेतन कि हम कुछ मतदाताओं से बात कर सके। ठीक है, सिर्फ माहौल दिखाने से हमें पता नहीं चलेगा कि क्या चर्चा क्या चल रही है। माहौल तो अच्छा है, इट लुकिंग गुड, बट द पोलिंग बूथ सीम्स टू बी एम्प्टी, खाली लग रहा है। अभी कोई मतदाता दिख रहे हैं हमें अंदर कोई?
बिल्कुल, देखिए मैंने आपको बताया कि 9 बजे तक मतदाता भारी तादाद में आ रहे थे, लेकिन गर्मी बढ़ती जा रही है, ऐसे में मतदाता अब कम आ रहे हैं। मतदाता भी मेरे साथ हैं, बातचीत करेंगे। भाई साहब, क्या बड़ा मुद्दा है इस बार लोकसभा चुनाव के लिए, वोट डालने के लिए मन में क्या चल रहा है?
कुछ नहीं चल रहा भैया।
वोट डालने आए हैं आप, क्या था मन में, क्या सोच के आए वोट डालने?
आए हैं कुछ सोच समझ के।
क्या सोचा?
कुछ नहीं।
अम्मा आप बताइए, 2023 के विधानसभा चुनाव में महिलाओं की बहुत बड़ी भूमिका थी, इस बार क्या भूमिका और मन में क्या चल रहा है?
अब हम क्या पता चल रहा कि जीते। हाँ,
वो जीते हैं?
अब जिसको वोट डालेंगे वही जीते।
नहीं तो मन में क्या है, पहले भी आपने वोट?
मन में अब हम नहीं बता सकते, जो कुछ है बहुत।
अच्छा, क्या बड़े मुद्दे भाई साहब, क्या अम्मा क्या बड़े मुद्दे इस बार?
भैया हम इन लोगों की तो कुछ जानकारी नहीं है, मतलब अपना वो वोट डालने आए हैं और बस इसलिए, और तो पता नहीं है आगे चल के क्या, आगे किसको जीतना है, क्या होना है, ये तो जानकारी नहीं है। ये है कि अपना फर्ज निभाने आए हैं।
कोई मुद्दा होगा कि राष्ट्र के मुद्दे पर वोट दोगे या किसी चेहरे पर वोट दोगे या क्षेत्र के मुद्दों पर वोट दोगे?
नहीं, ना चेहरे पर देंगे ना किसी और, जो फर्ज निभा रहे हैं उसी पर वोट देंगे, किसी के कहने से नहीं।
हम तो भैया यही जाने के मतलब कि अपना मतदान है जो दे दो चाहिए।
अरे मत को दान तो कर रहे, लेकिन बताने तो पड़े ना, क्या मन में क्या चल रहा
भाई ये कौन बात नहीं है।
है? भाई साहब क्या चल रहा है?
क्या चल रहा हो? नहीं वोट डालने।
नहीं तो किसको वोट डालना है, क्या है मन में, क्या क्या बड़ा मुद्दा?
काय को बड़ा मुद्दा?
क्षेत्र का मुद्दा, राष्ट्र का मुद्दा, राम मंदिर मुद्दा काम करेगा या बड़े चेहरे काम करेंगे?
तो कर ही कर।
ओके,
राष्ट्र का मुद्दा काम करेगा, क्षेत्र का कोई मुद्दा ऐसा कुछ?
Okay, right. Like I said, sometimes you get a whole host of people who really want to have a say and have a strong point to make, and sometimes you get people who are shy and will rather not say, and I totally understand that. Just stay with me. Let me introduce our guests also this morning. Meeta Chakrabarti represents the Congress. Chandni is back with us. Ajay Singh is back with us. George Kurian is joining us on the broadcast this morning. I'm coming to all of you. I just want to get us as educated from the perspectives on the ground as we can before we have something to discuss. Otherwise, I don't want to have a disconnected conversation in our studios, while of course the voters may be thinking of something completely different. So let's go back to our correspondents. We've heard now from Chetan. Let's of course call to Prashant. Prashant, what's the buzz in Jalore?
जी बिल्कुल, देखिए इस समय हम मौजूद हैं वहां पर जहां पर राजस्थान की सबसे बड़ी हॉट सीट बनी हुई है। मैं बिल्कुल बात कर रहा हूं जालोर सिरोही सीट की, जहां से लुम्बाराम चौधरी को बीजेपी की तरफ से कैंडिडेट बनाया गया है, वहीं उनके सामने कांग्रेस से वैभव गहलोत को मौका दिया गया है। आप तस्वीरों में देख सकते हैं कि किस तरीके से जो है सुबह से ये माहौल
Okay. And of course, as soon as Prashant has moved, we've lost his live connection. That happens in a live telecast. Vikas, meanwhile, has been speaking to people in Nanded. He just spoke with Ashok Chavan, who's voting over there. Vikas, लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं, चर्चा क्या है, मुद्दा क्या है सबके मनों में जैसे वो मतदान दे रहे हैं?
बिल्कुल ऋषभ जी, देखिए द पोलिंग परसेंटेज टिल 9 AM डजंट सीम टू बी क्वाइट प्रॉमिसिंग. इट्स बीन ओनली 6 to 7%. लेकिन हमें उम्मीद थी कि स्कॉर्चिंग हीट की वजह से लोग जल्दी घरों से निकलेंगे और जल्दी मतदान करेंगे, लेकिन ऐसा हो नहीं पाया. लेकिन धीरे धीरे अब भीड़ बढ़ रही है. मैं तस्वीरों के जरिए दिखा रहा हूँ मतदान सेंटर का ये दृश्य, और मैं लोगों से बात करके समझता हूँ कि उनके मुद्दे क्या हैं. ताई, आप घर से निकली हैं, लंबी कतार आप लगा के मतदान करें, क्या मुद्दे हैं जिनके आधार पर आप लोग मतदान केंद्र तक पहुंचे?
भारताची प्रगती पाहिजे.
भारताची प्रगती पाहिजे मराठी में कह रही है, लेकिन मैं ट्रांसलेट कर दूंगा. मैं चाहता हूँ हिंदी का.
हाँ,
प्रगति चाहिए, भारत की तरक्की के लिए प्रगति करिए. और कुछ महिलाओं से बात करूंगा, आप हिंदी बात कर लेंगे. किन मुद्दों के आधार पे आप लोग वोट कर रहे हैं?
नहीं आता हमको बोले.
कैमरा से भी कुछ लोग नहीं है ऋषभ जी, लेकिन मेरी कोशिश है कि मैं ज्यादातर लोगों तक पहुंचूं. दादा, आप आए हैं पोलिंग बूथ तक, किन मुद्दों के आधार पे अब की बार जनता वोट करने जा रही है? मुद्दे क्या है जनता के लिए?
महंगाई है, बेरोजगारी है और एक कास्टिज्म बहुत हो गया.
कास्टिज्म भी एक मुद्दा है. आपके लिए क्या मुद्दा भाई साहब?
चेंजेस लाइफ.
चेंज चाहिए, बदलाव चाहिए. आप कुछ कह रहे हैं, आपके लिए क्या मुद्दा?
बदलाव चाहिए, महंगाई बहुत हो गई है, बदलाव चाहिए इस बारी को.
तो कुछ लोग बदलाव के लिए भी घरों से निकले, तो अलग अलग मुद्दे हैं, अलग अलग मूड है वोटरों के. लंबी सी कतार है. ऋषभ जी, यहाँ पर एक खास बात मैं आपको यहाँ पर बताना चाहूंगा. आपसे थोड़ी देर पहले नांदेड़ से जो सांसद हुआ करते थे कांग्रेस के, जो बीजेपी में चले गए, अशोक चौहान, सूबे के पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री, उनसे भी हमने बात की और हमने उनसे इसी डिसमल परसेंटेज जो लोगों का जो टर्न आउट है इस पर बात की. तो उन्होंने कहा कि धीरे धीरे परसेंटेज बढ़ेगा, अच्छा वोट होगा यहाँ पर. लेकिन वो इस बात को लेकर काफ़ी आश्वस्त हैं कि अब की बार यहाँ पर कमल खिलने जा रहा है, लोग जो हैं प्रताप राव चिखलीकर जो कि बीजेपी के जो यहाँ के कैंडिडेट हैं उनको वोट करेंगे। स्वाभाविक है वो यही बोलेंगे क्योंकि अभी उन्होंने बीजेपी का दामन थाम लिया। लेकिन पोलिंग बूथ की तस्वीर मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ कि किस तरीके से अब धीरे धीरे उत्साह बढ़ रहा है। बावजूद गर्मी के यहाँ पे टेम्परेचर अभी 40 से 45 डिग्री चल रहा है, लेकिन इसके बावजूद जो है जनता जो है अपने घरों से निकल रही है और वो अपना वोट कास्ट कर रहे हैं। ये गहमा गहमी, ये भीड़ और ये उत्साह तस्वीर बताती है कि परसेंटेज धीरे धीरे उठेगा, लेकिन 9 बजे तक के परसेंटेज कोई बहुत इंप्रेसिव नहीं थे। आई वुड से दैट दे वर क्वाइट डिसमल। जी ऋषभ जी।
Okay, all right. We get again a perspective there on what's happening on the ground, what the perspectives are, what people are saying, what matters. It puts a lot of things into relief for us, ladies and gentlemen. So let me just sum it up for you. Okay, now we've spoken to hundreds of people since morning, all right, across the board, and this is not just people. Most of them are happening live. So there is no now aspersion here that this is, you know, some picky, choicey reporting happen. No, it's just happening live. People are speaking. Some people are very confidently speaking. They want to say something. Others oftentimes can be a lot more reticent. Before I move on, let me just quickly go back to Balurghat in case you missed the last report from Renik. Renik, आप चर्चा कर रहे थे वहाँ मतदाताओं से, मुद्दे क्या मिल रहे हैं, सबसे बड़ी चर्चा क्या हो रही है? चर्चा क्या पार्टी की है, चर्चा या नेता की है, चर्चा कास्ट पे है, चर्चा रिलीजन पे है? किस मुद्दे, आप जाके पूछिए लोगों से कि रिलीजन मुद्दा है, कास्ट मुद्दा है, पार्टी मुद्दा है, क्या मुद्दा है उनके लिए?
एकदम ही देखिए, मैं पहले दिखाऊंगा कि बालूरघाट में सुबह 9 बजे के बाद भी दिखा जा रहा है बहुत लोग वोट देने के लिए बाहर आ रहे हैं। जैसे कि वोटर टर्नआउट भी कह रहे हैं 9 बजे तक 15% वोट भी रहे। मगर कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर फोकस है मैडम, कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर फोकस करके आप लोग आज मतदान करने के लिए आए हैं?
सुबह सुबह इतनी गर्मी इसीलिए हम लोग आए, हम लोग की इतनी सिर्फ, और आगे कुछ नहीं बोला।
मैडम, पिछले 5 साल में बहुत सारे वादा बहुत सारे लोग किए गए थे, मगर आप लोगों का जो मांग था वो पूरा हुआ था?
कुछ हुआ, कुछ नहीं हुआ, और भी आगे भी होना चाहिए।
इस बार कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर
नहीं बोलेंगे ना,
कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर
नहीं बोलेंगे हम वो सब अगले
बहुत सारे लोग सुबह सुबह वोट देने के लिए आए हैं, तो कौन से कारण में सुबह सुबह वोट?
वेदर के लिए, जो वेदर हो रहा है ना, गर्मी के कारण आए हैं।
कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर फोकस करेंगे आप?
कौन से मुद्दे, माने मतलब क्या, इसका क्या?
डेवलपमेंट, नौकरी, महंगाई, कौन से?
नौकरी नहीं करेंगे।
कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर?
दीदी तो 1-1 हजार रुपया की सुविधा देती है सब लोग के लिए, इसीलिए सब लोग दीदी का समर्थन करते हैं। मोदी जी करेंगे तो मोदी जी के भी देंगे।
नहीं, और ये यूथ जनरेशन भी है, कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर फोकस रहेगा मैम?
पब्लिक वेलफेयर
के ऊपर फोकस रहेगा। सुबह सुबह वोट देने के लिए आए हैं, तो कौन सा कारण में सुबह सुबह वोट देने के लिए आए हैं?
ভিড় না হয় সেই জন্য।
और गर्मी सुबह सुबह सब लोग वोट देने के लिए आए हैं।
Okay, Renik, I'm going to make a very big recommendation. Okay, don't ask people why they've come in the morning, because they will tell you because it's hot later in the day. Everybody knows that India and Bengal gets hot later in the day. Okay, so we'll confuse the issue for the rest of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, you just learnt an important lesson in reportage. How you frame the question also matters. So people are saying they come out to vote in the morning because it's hot and they want to avoid crowds. The good news, of course, from Balurghat is that there are crowds, large number of crowds. Some people who are shy in speaking don't want to speak, but I'm noticing a different vibe. Renik, from last week in Cooch Behar, it seemed a bit more tense. People really didn't want to really be, show their faces in front of a camera also. It looked like people were slightly more stressed out. I don't want to use the word fearful because, that would be a leap of the imagination, but I'll use the word tense. It looks a lot more relaxed, much more vivacious atmosphere where you are standing in Balurghat. Are you also feeling that difference?
एकदम ही देखिए, सुबह से कोच बिहार में भी जिस तरीके का तस्वीर दिखा गया था, मगर दूसरा तस्वीर है बालूरघाट में। बालूरघाट में सुबह से ही दिखा जा रहा है, हर एक बूथ में लोग बाहर आ रहे हैं, वोट दे रहे हैं और उसके साथ लोग बात भी कर रहे हैं। जैसे कि कोच बिहार में भी हम लोग बात करने की कोशिश किए थे कि कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर लोग फोकस कर रहे हैं, मगर उधर भी बहुत सारे लोग डर रहे थे बोलने के लिए, मगर बोल नहीं रहे थे कैमरा के सामने। मगर बालूरघाट में भी सुबह से बहुत सारे जगह में हम लोग घूमे थे, उस जगह में सवाल भी किए थे कि कौन कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर फोकस है, वो लोग सवाल का जवाब भी दे रहे हैं। मैं और एक बार कोशिश करूंगा पूछने के लिए, मैडम आप लोग जो आज मतदान करने के लिए आए हैं, कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर आप लोगों का फोकस रहेगा? डेवलपमेंट, कौन से मुद्दा, डेवलपमेंट के जैसे मुद्दा?
রিসেন্টলি রূপশ্রী টাকা পেয়েছি, তো আমার ভোট তো জানেনি।
स्टेट का डेवलपमेंट और उसके साथ मैडम कौन से मुद्दे के ऊपर फोकस रहेगा?
महंगाई, नौकरी, ये दोनों तो पहले ही।
जो लोग कह रहे हैं कि कोई तो कह रहा है कि स्टेट के जो डेवलपमेंट है उसके ऊपर फोकस रहेगा, और उसके साथ कोई कह रहा है कि महंगाई, नौकरी, इनके ऊपर फोकस रहेगा। और औरों से बात करने का कोशिश करूंगा। मैडम कौन से मुद्दे को फोकस करके आज ये मतदान करने के लिए आए हैं?
पब्लिक वेलफेयर।
पब्लिक वेलफेयर के मुद्दे भी है उन लोगों के पास, और मैं और भी बात करने की कोशिश करूंगा।
Okay, all right. Okay, Ranik. I'm going to give you a chance to record some of these and send them to us. We're going to, of course, play out as many people speaking. Okay. Now, now let's obviously have the sensible caveats. Okay. Not everybody is going to say actually what they're thinking because they'll want to be diplomatic and politically correct on television. Some people will say exactly what they're thinking because they're unabashed. Some people will be reticent. They just don't. They want to vote and get on with their day. They have jobs to go to, and that's completely understandable as well. More reactions are coming in. Let's quickly listen in before I come back to my guests.
Congress leaders and my family and my party leaders, they are harassing. They are working as agents. They are telling they will give a statement. They are telling that you just join the BJP. Why are you there in the Congress party? I will just go and meet the DG personally, and I will also file a complaint. The way they are harassing.
Sir, today JP Nadda visiting Karnataka and Uttar Karnataka.
Let even anyone from the sky also let.
Okay, DK Shiv Kumar, meanwhile, of course, casting his vote, important leader for the Congress. Some say the future of the Congress in Karnataka is that man. Okay, so I'm just putting a sum total of what we've heard. It is anecdotal, but it educates the conversation. So now, ladies and gentlemen, across the board, now elections are happening in Kerala, they're happening in UP, they're happening in Bengal, they're happening in Rajasthan, they're happening in Madhya Pradesh, they're happening in Maharashtra, even in Jammu is voting. By the end of the day today, half of the seats would have been done. 200 plus million votes, maybe 250, 260 million votes would have been cast in the two phases. The balance of seats, of course, tempering down with the last phase being the smallest. Manipur, remember, also is voting in outer Manipur, and we've been covering that since early this morning. But here's the dipstick test of the people voting. A lot of people in the urban areas seem to be indicating that they are concerned with national issues, safety, security, and overall stature, prestige, development of the country. In a lot of the rural areas, people are primarily talking about jobs. Many in certain states, in Rajasthan and UP, have for sure mentioned Ram Mandir. So when you ask a question, what's the first thing, Freudian thing that comes to your mind, and they've said, look, Ram Mandir is an issue for us. So yes, that has percolated. But all the other conversations that we are having about caste quota and Muslim quota and inheritance tax and you know, all of this, I don't think so far is percolating into votes being cast as the decisive factor issue. A percentage of people are going to be pre-decided on who they're voting for. A percentage of people will be open to opinion. A percentage of people will decide last minute. That's how it always works, how it always will work. But it's a reality check on what the issues are there on the ground. So let's thank our reporters and free them so that we can now have a conversation with our guests joining us on the broadcast. Let's open up this conversation and speak to our guests. Chandni, let me come to you first now. So now we are getting an education, okay, of what the issues are. So the conversation, which part of it is left as an ideological conversation when people are mostly talking about development, or they're talking about jobs, or they're talking about inflation, and some are talking about Ram Mandir? Do they really care beyond on the other kinds of debates and discussions we have about inheritance tax and this, that?
Jobs, unemployment, there's a lot of issues around which this second, this election is being fought around. But there's a lot of misinformation as well. For example, people keep saying that Narendra Modi promised the 2 crore jobs would be generated within the span of 10 years. Of course, there is a lot of miscommunication from the government's end as well. But there are reports which says that the total jobs that have been created is 21.42 crores in the last 10 years. And this is with data, like this is with substantial data that I'm talking about. So it's not like that there has not been any job creation. Of course, the job retainment is a different issue altogether. But this is also because, there's a global, problem that is going on. It's not just India.
Yeah, but Chandni, global problems are going on all the time. I mean, the previous government had to deal with the 2008 disaster. This government had to deal with the COVID disaster. There'll always be problems, but is there a core ideological fight here? Because nobody is really talking about it. It might be an issue, but nobody is saying that caste is the primary priority. Okay, nobody is saying religion, but that just might be because they are trying to be politically correct before the camera. They don't want to say that, listen, I'm Hindu, so I vote for Modi, and I'm Muslim, so I vote for Rahul. Okay, they're not going to say that. So are these still relevant issues?
Very much relevant, Rishabh. I mean, when you today talk about, imagine Congress coming up, and saying that we would be, distributing money to the females of to per female per family, and we would be distributing money to educated youth. They have not talked about a lot of job creation opportunities. What they've talked about, they have talked about wealth redistribution in a very indirectly and subtle manner, and they've done that. Their spokesperson Lokesh Jindal just today in the morning has confirmed that if Congress talks about wealth redistribution, it is according to the Constitution of India. So why is BJP so rattled? So, and is redistribution, has it been done for the first time? Why is Narendra Modi, bringing out these topics of distribution? Because
okay, let's give Meeta ji a chance to respond to that. So Meeta ji, we've now had 36 hours to digest. What we know is a senior party fellow, might be abroad right now. Are you going to impose a 50% inheritance tax in India if you come to power, ma'am?
Okay, good morning to all your viewers and good morning to the fellow co-panelists as well. First of all, I would really request all of you not to spread misinformation and not to spread lies on national television. Can you quote me the paragraph and the page on the Congress manifesto that talks about imposing 50% of inheritance tax? Can you please quote me, because there is no mention of inheritance tax. And let me clarify as an official spokesperson of the Congress party that we have no intention of imposing inheritance tax if we come to power.
So have you reprimanded Sam Pitroda for speaking without a brief?
Have you gone ahead? Have you not seen Jairam Rameshji's clarification, his tweet and his video clipping?
No, Chandni, she didn't interrupt you. Please, one at a time. Let her finish.
It's very important. The country needs to make an informed decision based on truth and facts, and not based on lies and misinformation.
It's not a lie, ma'am. It's your party leader, and you're saying that's not party policy. That's perfectly understandable.
Sam Pitroda himself, you have to give me some uninterrupted time, sir. Sam Pitroda himself has gone on record and said that he had given an example in his personal capacity. Not only Sam Pitroda.
So how are we to know when he's talking personally and when he's talking for the party?
Department has gone on record and said that it's Sam Pitroda's personal viewpoint. It is not Congress party's viewpoint. So let me clarify.
Has Sam Pitroda not been a close advisor of the Gandhi family for the past 4 decades?
You're trying to build an issue which even the common people are rejecting, because there is no intention of imposing wealth inheritance tax, number one.
Okay, all right.
Number two, when you're talking about redistribution of wealth, yes, we have a Mahalakshmi scheme, a Mahila Nyay, where we talk that in BPL families, in poorer families, the eldest woman of the family will get a direct cash transfer benefit of 1 lakh rupees per year. Yes, we do have that scheme, and that scheme is being very, very well taken by the women, by the female voters of this country.
Okay.
However, what about Ladli Behan scheme of Madhya Pradesh or BJP? Did they not talk about cash, direct cash transfer benefit?
Yes, they do. Absolutely. Not just largely, but directly to farmers as well.
Welfare schemes, both by BJP and Congress and other political parties that talk about cash
Okay,
transfer.
all right. So let's move on to the next to the next issue, because honestly, ma'am, you're right, because we've been speaking to people on the ground at all the time. Even if it is an issue in certain political quarters, it is not filtered down to voters who are thinking it's a major issue.
Presentation of fact.
Okay,
I would
okay.
urge you to read the manifesto and talk on facts, please.
Ma'am, we read the manifesto, but again, we can't tell. I know for a fact that Sam Petroda has been a close advisor of the Gandhi family for 4 decades. Now, when he's speaking in his personal capacity, when he's speaking officially, we don't know. But you say it's not the party position, which is perfectly reasonable. I can say something in my personal capacity which need not be my channel's position. So it's perfectly reasonable for you to say so. Okay. So on the next issue, when you say wealth redistribution, let me ask you a specific question. Generally, the conversation in modern day India has been about reducing taxation, that we want lower personal tax, we want lower corporate tax, because that's what generates employment, generates money into the economy, and we want a smaller government. You are saying the opposite. You are saying more government jobs, bigger government, in fact 3 million government jobs, vacancies to be filled, of which 1 million currently exist. I don't know where the balance 2 million are coming from. And you are saying more taxation. Who are you going to tax? Is it going to be more GST, more corporate tax?
Sir, it shows that you have not read the manifesto. Page 30
No,
of the...
ma'am, asking for a clarification does not show illiteracy.
Okay, sir. Allow me. Page 30 of our manifesto says that the Congress, if it comes back to the power, is against the idea of imposing more tax. So we, in fact, do the exact opposite. We are talking against additional tax imposition. Number one.
No, so but no, I'm sorry, ma'am, but your party leader Rahul Gandhi says that why does a poor man in Adani pay only 18% GST? He said it repeatedly.
No. I am giving you the exact page number. We are against...
So is Rahul Gandhi also speaking in his personal capacity now?
No. What did Rahul Gandhi do?
But Rahul Gandhi comes and says that the ordinary worker pays 18% GST and the richest tycoon also pays 18% GST. That's not fair. So what's he referring to?
So when we talk about not imposing additional tax imposition, yes, we have spoken that there will be ways of bringing the income inequality lower in this country. And when we speak about certain social welfare, we talk about how we are going to create jobs. We have spoken as how we are going to encourage more startups in this country by having 5,000 crores as a startup fund. We speak about opening up the 30 lakh sarkari or government job positions which are lying vacant right now. We speak about specific measures that we will take to empower the small to medium-sized enterprises. There are about 12 lakh SME sector companies that have closed down in the past few years. So when we talk about job creation and how we are going to tackle the unemployment measure, we talk about how we are going to skill today's India's youth, how we are going to bring a skill program for the Indian's youth. So we speak about specific measures. We are just not talking in the air. Let's face the fact.
All right. Okay. So there's no doubt about it, ladies and gentlemen.
One more point. One more point, sir.
Please finish your thought. Please finish.
In the UPA 10 years, despite having the 2008 global economic recession, we had an average GDP growth rate of 6.7%, which came down to 5.9%. Yes, I'm aware of the COVID lockdown period between the last 10 years under NDA government. We have dealt with the country's economy far better.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is now no doubt about it. Okay, ma'am. I think we've got a principal understanding of what your position is. To have a plan is better than to have no plan, and then people can decide whether it's a good plan or a bad plan. The point of question for you watching this telecast is that job creation is going to be the #1 issue for this country for the next 5-10 years. No doubt about it. Nobody can run away from it. Now, what is the methodology? And there is an ideological conversation on this because that formulates policy. Is the methodology going to be that the job creation is going to happen through investment in infrastructure, through investment in avenues that are facilitating GDP growth, through startups primarily, or is it primarily going to happen by government job guarantees? Is it primarily going to happen from the point of view of the unorganized sector? There's a conversation here. So let me get Mr. Kurian into this conversation. Chandni, I'll just give you a chance to rebut. Let me get the others in first. Georgie, what do you think? Is there an ideological point of difference between the BJP and the Congress on fundamental issues, or are they primarily, the national parties are talking about the same things?
Well, Bishop, good morning to you and to your audience and to my co-panelists on the show. First and foremost, we strongly believe that the Congress manifesto is a very inclusive one, which carries every section of the society and which is on facts rather than, we don't believe in promising fake and false promises to the voters at large. And so the Congress party strongly believes that it could come back to power in 2024. See, one has to understand this is a Congress, this is a new Congress with a new hope and aspirations for the millions of people across the length and breadth of the country. And as far as the first phase of voting is concerned, we have seen that, there is a lot of dissent as far as the ruling dispensation is concerned.
There might be dissent, there might not be dissent, I don't know. But my question, Sir Georgie, was very specific. What is the difference between the Congress and the BJP in terms of ideology? Is there a difference? Because both will tell you that they don't want higher taxes. Both will tell you they want to create jobs. Both will tell you that they support women, they support startups, they support youth. But then is there a methodology difference?
Well, it goes without saying that any political party for that matter would promise heaven. But the fact remains that, in the last 10 years of BJP's governance, how much jobs have the government created, or for that matter, has the government been able to, get a cap on inflation? So these are important factors which matters to the general public at large. And I strongly believe that there's a lot.
But I don't have an answer to my question, so I'm going to try with Ajay. Ajay, is there, to voters watching this broadcast, is there an ideological difference? There is a difference in leadership. There might be a difference in style. But is there an ideological difference between the BJP and the Congress party on issues like the economy, job creation?
Yeah, well, there is certainly ideological difference between both the parties. And the supporters of Congress party do believe in, what the manifesto is giving to them and will deliver for the people of this nation. So there is a difference between the ideologies of both the parties.
What is the difference?
Difference, as we can see, it's about we are covering all the sectors of this nation, and whereas BJP is focusing on a particular sector of this nation.
Okay, again, I'm trying my best to get an answer from the question. Nobody's going to answer it, so I'm going to try with Joyita. Joyita, let's give this a shot, okay? Is there, in the good old days, we were able to recognize a difference between the BJP and the Congress as an ideological difference? Is there a modern day ideological, forget leadership, forget style, forget, who's in charge. Is there an ideological difference when it comes to the economy between the BJP and the Congress?
Well, Rishabh, if you're going to speak about ideological, I think what we are seeing, at least the way this campaign is shaping up, the main difference I would say is that Congress is going the way of doles. Listen, when we are looking at, say, for example, job creation, the promise of job creation alone, that is there. All parties will be talking about it. So there is no difference as such when it comes to the promise of job creation. But I think the fundamental economic promises that have been made in the two manifestos is that Congress is going the way of primarily doles. And this is in keeping with what they had done even earlier. If we look at the UPA rule, for example, the National Advisory Council, for that matter, that was primarily a dole-driven
economic... But Joyita, they are going to say that, listen, when we say it, you say dole. But when the BJP says, 800 million people to get free food, to get farmers to get DBT, then it's welfareism. Joyita, if you can still hear us. Okay, we lost Joyita. So let me put the same question to Chandni just to finish that thought. Chandni, okay, on the issue of doles versus welfareism, where is the line? Why is one thing a dole and the other thing great welfare practice and wealth redistribution?
See, first of all, the free ration that you were talking about, that was not, it needs to be understood that it's not like there's a free ration that's being given. It's 5 kg of extra ration that was being given, and it was started during the COVID time. Now, let me counter what Ms. Meeta said earlier. In your Congress manifesto, point number 21 says, we will address the growing inequality of wealth and income through suitable changes in policies. Now, if if you're not bothered about wealth redistribution, why mention it on your page 28, 29 of the manifesto? If you want to implement new policies, so talk about income. Why are you talking about wealth? Then in the same manifesto, you say that you will uphold Article 26 to 30 of Constitution of India. That is protecting the rights of the minority. Now, this also protects them from the wealth redistribution scheme. The third thing, there was an inheritance tax in India, and that was removed after the demise of Srimati Indira Gandhi. Just let me finish the points, Rishabh. There was a compulsory deposit scheme act that was imposed in 1963 and 1974, where a substantial amount of the salary, not just the salary, land revenue, urban property, and agrarian income, anything, a substantial amount was put in a lock-in period for 3 to 5 years. This was done to all the people. So, and Manmohan Singh was the chief economic advisor at that time. In 1971, 5 paise cess was, levied on each bus ticket. Until 2011, Congress collected 444 crores from this. So I am asking that when you are talking about,
so let me then distill that into a question, and we'll give a chance before I get Vinita. Vinita is joining us of the BJP as well, and let me distill that, ma'am, into a question for you, okay? Because she's already clarified that they're not taking questions on inheritance tax because that is not the policy of the party or the position of the party. Okay, so the party says that chapter is closed. On the issue of what is the logic with which one is approaching job creation and what is wealth redistribution, let me phase that into a question. Now, ma'am, in a concept of wealth redistribution, your party itself has been pointing out that because of the pernicious policies of the present day government, the people who are job creators, meritocrats, okay, what are we going to tell? We are watching, for example, Sudha Murthy voting this morning in Bengaluru, Narayan Murthy is going to be voting, Nandan Nilekani, Ratan Tata. What are we going to tell to all these people? That they are the richest people. It's not just Adani, no? There are others as well. What are you going to tell to Azim Premji? Are you going to tell them that please give away all your money?
So is that question to me?
Yeah, ma'am, it is to you. Yes, please take that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right. So the BJP's policy of, the economic policy of BJP is a balanced policy between welfare and market economy. So we do not believe in, absolute doles like the Congress was doing and, promising but not really fulfilling. We know the kind of, situation that was there before 2014 in terms of basic amenities, infrastructure, and all of that. We know the kind of growth that we have had, the manifold growth that we have had since 2014. So as I come back to the point of welfare versus market. So it's not welfare versus market, it's welfare and market economics. We have to cater to all sections of society. It's not just the poor. Of course, the poor, we are, moving towards lifting the poor out of the, absolute poverty, and we've already achieved targets for that. 3.5 crore people out of poverty. That's already been repeated in many debates, but that's the achievement that we've done through a combination of, saturation of Grama Panchayats with basic amenities, with digital amenities, with social amenities, and with economic opportunities. So economic opportunities go side by side for the poorest to the poor, and also catering to the rich in terms of actually, facilitating them to also contribute to nation building. So we need to have a facilitating environment.
So let me have the ideological question, because the statistical question, Vinita ji, is difficult to have because, it's the statistics in India are a little bit of hypothetication from various other factors, EPOFO and that. In an ideological basis, is your intention to create jobs in this economy through creating public sector jobs and filling public sector vacancies? Or is it about creating private sector industrialization, manufacturing, or self-employment opportunities? Which is the route that you want to take?
So we would say, as I repeat myself, it's a balanced economy. So we would say all three, but we do not believe in having dead public sector enterprises still going around and living on the exchequer's money. We would like to infuse efficiency into the public sector by bringing in the efficiency from the private sector. It's a public-private sector kind of mode that we would like to go forward, and of course the startup and the MSME, all that we're doing for MSMEs and startups, and facilitating an environment for enterprise as well. So all of the three, but efficient public sector.
So let me now again put that into perspective and go to Joyita. Ladies and gentlemen, when there was the biggest economic crisis in 1929, it's called the Great Depression. The methodology that Franklin Delano Roosevelt came out for now what is the richest country in the world was something called the New Deal. And the New Deal did one thing. We are going to build infrastructure which will generate employment, and that will bring us out of the mess that we are in. Joyita Basu, has the government under Narendra Modi done enough with this logic that when you go build a road and a highway, that creates jobs not only for the mistris, for the concrete pourers, for the engineers, for the designers, for the architects, for the surveyors, and that itself is an employment generator? Is that enough of a logic to function with?
It's a good logic, but whether it has done enough or not, only time will tell. Of course, a lot remains to be done, but when it comes to the logic, it's a foolproof logic. Because you see, otherwise what happens is that when you are talking in terms of giving people money, and money, it's like, it's kind of becomes an entitlement. You are doing nothing. You are basically, what you are doing is that you are not, it's a that old proverb that is there: you teach a man to fish, he will be fishing for the rest of his life. You remember that. So if once you start thinking in terms of, I think first of all we have to understand the difference between what is welfareism and what is freebie. The minute from welfareism, there's a very fine line over there. The minute welfareism transcends into the territory of freebie, what happens is that, number one, it's a waste of resources. More importantly, you are not creating any avenues for wealth generation. What you are doing is that you are distributing wealth. Until and unless you do not have avenues for wealth generation, what happens is that instead of wealth distribution, what you do is you distribute poverty.
Okay, so I will now take this forward in an example which is easy to understand and is perhaps most relevant. Ladies and gentlemen, there are enough arguments, and economics is a complicated thing. It sometimes makes for very dry conversation, so I'm going to spice it up. There are enough arguments that say that the most efficient form of welfareism is to do exactly that, just to sign a check, okay, and let the people decide what they want to do with the money, okay. The completely contrarian argument is what Joyita has just told you, that if you sign a check, you don't know where the money is going, okay. If you sign a check to a man, he might spend it on drink, then what are we going to do? So I'll give you the example, then I'll post the question to Meeta Chakrabarti. The BJP has a scheme called Lakpati Didis, in which they say that we will give you opportunities for self-businesses, starting with drones, so that women in villages can have an annual income on their own capacity, earning on their own, not as a government grant, but earning on their own, facilitated with government training and in initial impetus, create 1 lakh rupees of income per year, Lakpati Didis. The Congress in its manifesto says, we will give you, the women, 1 lakh rupees, rural women, 1 lakh rupees, and then you decide what you want to do with it. And you can argue that women then have a penchant to spend the money on education, on house, on health, and they spend the money better than men. And that's the two sides of the argument. So let me put Meeta Chakrabarti in. Meeta ji, why just say we'll give you the money? Why not say we will empower women so that they can earn the money?
Want to be a either or situation. So when we are talking about Mahalakshmi scheme, when we are talking about this direct cash transfer benefit, at the same time, we are talking about how we are going to set up a startup fund where we are going to encourage new age business people, both men and women. We are also talking about how we are going to set skill and training centers across India. When we are talking about the women-specific issues, we are also, in addition to giving them direct cash transfer benefit, we are also talking about how we are going to help the working woman, be it about setting more working woman hostels across India, be it about at the panchayat level, we are talking about creating help groups or Maitri groups, which will make the woman in the rural areas more aware of their legal rights. So when we talk about job creation, we are talking about how we are going to help the SME sectors. As I said, lakhs of small to medium-sized enterprise business houses have closed down over the last few years. So we are going to talk about how we are going to have specific loan schemes at a very low interest to empower the SME sector, how we are going to help the startup companies, which will in turn generate employment.
Okay.
And at the same time, we are talking about how we are going to invest more in welfare schemes, because the money that goes into the families, that also boosts the consumerism in the
okay. So that
goes back
that
to
is the job of government. Okay, that's the reason we pay taxes. Okay, to build the roads and educate and help the poor. Okay, okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you. There's some breaking developments flashing at the bottom of your screen. This is just a highlight. It's not the game changer of the day. The Supreme Court has rejected petitions filed by Prashant Bhushan and others on 100% tabulation of the VVPATs, which is the paper verification of the EVMs. So they've rejected the petition. The Supreme Court had already spoken on this yesterday. They said this is not a matter for us to interfere in the Election Commission's working, but they reserved the judgment yesterday. They have now confirmed the judgment today that they will not be interfering in the EVM VVPAT matter at this stage. Does that mean it can't happen later? In the VVPAT machine, ladies and gentlemen, that in a percentage of the EVMs, there is a separate attachment that keeps a paper record. And it is possible for a candidate or a party to demand a tabulation of that paper record to verify that the EVMs are functioning correctly and tally the paper record, which is literally printed on a piece of paper. This has been done in the past. The petition said it should be the default. Right now it is by request and on the agreement of the Election Commission. The petition said it should be default, and that's the matter there. Okay, now I established that. Let me get back to Meeta ji. Now, Meeta ji, you know, a lot of people say this is the new Congress. Okay, so can you help understand that? Because the old Congress under Indira Gandhi believed in nationalization. I already gave the example of what happened to Air India, which you took from the Tatas. Then, of course, it became an unholy mess and it was sold back to the Tatas very, very recently. So there was a different ideological framework. Nehru believed in the 5-year plan, which comes straight from the Communist manifesto. How is the new Congress different?
Well, I personally believe that this is very much the extension of the old Congress in terms of fundamental beliefs and fundamental value system. However, a party that has survived since 1885 for all these years, we obviously every decade or every second decade, we need to reinvent ourselves. We need to keep up with the changing times. India has changed and so has Indian National Congress. So yes, we have to keep up with the changing times. We have to understand the aspiration of today's youth. We have to understand the aspiration and hope of today's country. And that's exactly what we have proposed. So if you go through our manifesto, our 44-page manifesto, then we are talking about each and every single section. I know that BJP, though it claims as Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, they have an allergy to the word minority. So we have spoken about every section.
Okay.
We have spoken about the backward caste. We have spoken about SC, ST, OBC, Dalit. We have spoken about the minorities. We have spoken about the women, about the youth, about every single section of the.
Okay, but there's an odd inconsistency here, ma'am. And before I put this to the others, including the BJP, there's an odd inconsistency. I'll give you an example. Let us say that there is a minority university. It might be the Aligarh Muslim University or might be Jamia University. Now, because it's a minority university, which is in this case a Muslim university, because minorities are allowed to have educational institutions as per the laws of India, the minority university does not need to have an SC, ST, OBC quota. These are big, well-renowned, well-respected universities. Isn't that inconsistent, ma'am? You are just denied the SC, SC, OBCs access to these universities because you say, no, these are only Muslim universities.
Now, obviously, if they are catering to a particular community, it will only be governed and guided by the rules of that particular community. Now, my query is different here. When we talk about...
But what if I'm an OBC student who wants to study mass communication in Jamia? I don't get a quota there.
So you are asking something very specific. What we are trying to address here is that every section of the society should have access to good health, education, employment opportunities, and the very fundamental thing that we were trying to discuss, that why it should be towards or welfare versus empowerment. My limited submission is that it need not be an either-or situation. We believe that we should be empowering people by giving direct cash transfer benefits. At the same time, we should create more employment opportunities, more business opportunities, so that the country and the country's economy can prosper together. And in this journey of prospering together, we are not going to leave behind any section of the society or any section, be it a religious majority or religious minority or a linguistic majority or a linguistic minority. Bear in mind, minorities are not only in terms of religious identity, but also based on linguistic identity. We are not going to leave behind any section of the society.
Okay, it's a good aim to have, that nobody should get left behind, and that's what the BJP says, that everybody should be getting the house.
And yet the Prime Minister goes and indulges in such blatant hate speech a couple of days back in a public meeting, in a public rally in Rajasthan.
Okay,
Well, he directly spoke about Muslims, and I wonder why there are not enough debates and conversation happening about that.
We can have the conversation on what gets said, and the important part of the conversation is what gets done over here. Chandni, make a quick point, then I want to ask Mr. Kurian a question. Chandni, go ahead.
Yeah, so when we were talking about, Ms. Meeta was talking about that they would be giving 5,000 crores. They have separately kept for startups. Let me educate ma'am that already 50,000 crores have been given under the Mudra Yojana, and until 2014, with the startups which were only around 340, today we have around 1 lakh. More than 1 lakh startups in India. So it's not like, the government is not doing anything for the startups. Secondly, around 70% of Muslims, who are into entrepreneurship, that percentage has increased substantially. It has come up to 70%. So it's not like...
Okay, so that's the ideological difference, right? It's not 50,000 crores, it's 27 lakh crores have been distributed under the Mudra Yojana as loans, and these are the micro loan schemes. And the micro loan scheme is a Nobel winning scheme which came out of Bangladesh. So let me get that question to Mr. Kurian. Mr. Kurian, obviously our goals have to be the same. Okay, to say that a congressman doesn't want a Viksit Bharat, it'll be naive. Obviously our goals are the same. So the question that it comes down to is the path to take and who can do it more efficiently and manage it better. It just boils down to that. So is there a future in this country that we aspire to that says that regardless of my religion, regardless of my caste, I should get a house, I should get the same facilities, and we should all be equal? Why is that a wrong thing?
Well, Rishabh, it goes without saying we treat everyone as equal, and so it goes without saying it has to be that way, and we strongly believe that's the reason. I said, the Congress Party believes in carrying every section of the society, be the SC, OBC, and the general community at large. So it's that way, and that's the reason. And I would like to add that what is the reason for the Congress Party to bring in such an inclusive manifesto with direct cash transfers, social schemes and things like that? Because in the last 10 years of misgovernance and corruption that the NDA-led BJP government has carried in the country, there's a strong need for this social
Okay, you're saying misgovernance, but can you give me one example of any scheme or an anecdotal example? Can you say that in this district in Uttar Pradesh, because a person was Christian or Muslim, they did not get their jal, they did not get their house, they did not get... Can you give us one example of discrimination? Georgie.
I cannot narrow... Is that question?
Yeah, question to you. Can you give us one scheme or one instance, even if it's anecdotal, that I know of this person in this district who says that because I am Muslim, I did not get the house, I did not get it because the local bureaucrat Babu said, because you're Muslim, sorry, no house for you.
Well, to single out any one instance which you are referring to, I don't think that could be true.
George Curiel, because there are none. Not one reportage has happened in this country in the last 10 years that people have not got scheme benefits because of their religion. Not one. Isn't that remarkable?
But the fact remains that 80 crore people are living on ration, free ration of 5 kg of free ration. So that's the ground.
No, that we are poor, yes, but it also means that regardless of whether they're Muslim, Sikh, or Christian, or they happen to be a poor Brahmin, I have staff employed in my house, and they are Brahmins, and they're not rich people. They're struggling to make ends meet.
Agreed, but the Congress Party is trying to bring people out of poverty and trying to change their lifestyle, and we're sure that in time to come we'll be able to overcome these poverty menace in this country.
Okay, all right, okay. Vinita Hariharan, there can be an ideological premise, and the ideological premise is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, that we are convinced that we are going to roll out the schemes and we will not discriminate against anyone because everybody deserves education, house, water tap, having a toilet, everybody deserves it. But there happen to be, Vinita ji, that people have sometimes concerns, they have fears, and they have backgrounds which have been less privileged than others, and they expect to be reassured by the government that they are going to be looked after. You are going out of your way to look after tribals, 24,000 crore package. A lot of commissions have said that Muslims in this country do not enjoy on average the same privileges as others do, including Hindus. Parsis in this country can't claim to be underprivileged because the richest businessmen are Parsis, but to say that no Parsi is poor, it will also be wrong. So why not go and make that assurance? Because you are saying that Manmohan Singh should not have made the assurance. Why can't you make the same assurance?
No, our assurance is always there. The Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas is not something to be mocked at. It is what we've implemented in the last 10 years to the T. To the S, I would say we have implemented Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Just as you said, Rishabh, it's about giving welfare measures to all who need it. And and who said that we do not support Muslims? Who has repealed the triple talaq? Who has done that social reform? Who has made the decisive step to protect the Muslim women? It is the Modi government. It is Modi ji's resoluteness, the kind of courage that he showed to stand against all kinds of opposition and repeal the triple talaq. That was a very bold decision that was done just to empower the Muslim women. And we go on outreach measures to the communities. We see the kind of response that Muslim women have given to this, and they are extremely happy with this reform. And not only that, not only social reforms, what about the kind of measures that we have done in the minority welfare ministry? We have done a lot of improvements to the Hajj pilgrimage, the infrastructure facilities that we have given, all the scholarships that we have given for minority students. So all of that is open to all minority religions, all minorities. So we are not. We
ladies and gentlemen, I need to take a break. It's going to be a short one. Okay, let me just give you a fair assessment on this, and we'll come back and we have all day, maybe the next 1 month, maybe the next 10 years to discuss this. Okay, there are too many people in this country who build their entire lives and livelihoods. Think about the people who were running the Babri Action Committee. Okay, their entire job purpose, their paycheck, everything on how they ran their lives and expense accounts was running on one issue for decades. Okay. Very difficult to convince these people to kill these issues, and they then sustain the two-nation theory. So the BJP is bang on when they say that when we mean equality, we mean in absolutist terms. Everybody should get the house, and it is beyond remarkable that in 10 years, forget data, forget large scale, not even anecdotally, we have any examples of people coming out and saying that we were discriminated. We didn't get the house. I have plenty of examples on camera, on record, of Muslims who've got the toilet, who've got a pakka ghar, who've got the cylinder, who've got the nalka, who are absolutely thrilled. Doesn't mean they become BJP voters. At the same time, it is inconceivable for the BJP to do this well, to have the record number of Hajj Yatris, and for them to say that no, you don't have to be Muslim to care about Muslims in the country. Absolutely right. But it is difficult for them to convince Muslims that they can't find one Muslim in this country capable of becoming a member of parliament. Okay. So there is something that needs to be done also, despite a lot of things that have been done. That's the fair assessment. I take a break. See you in a minute.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.